Can we find true meaning apart from God? Well, the first clue to the answer to that question is that we're smart enough to even ask that question. None of the animals ask that question. Um, and human beings are the only ones that can even begin to analyze um, if there's meaning outside of this life, how many ever years uh, we spend here. The first place we can look to find the answer is we can just go right straight to the atheists. Both of our uh, textbooks that we used for this course pointed out very well that the atheists say there's no true meaning to life. There's nothing beyond death, and the only thing we're here for basically is to propagate the species. And uh, so we don't have to look far to decide if there's true meaning or not without God. Because the atheists answer that question quite well, actually. And they'll say things like there's proximate value and use other terms, and but they won't live their life that way. They won't live their life like it has no meaning, because they want their work to have meaning. They want their families to be raised and be educated. They want a lot of good things for those people that are in their life that they truly care about. Um, so we don't have to go very far away to find an answer to that question. Basically, the only ones who really say that there's true meaning um, in life is Christians. And although Muslims and Jews may uh, talk about some meaning to life, but Christians are the only ones that will provide meaning. Um, but we can look in the Bible, and Ecclesiastes tells us that the writer says, "Meaningless, meaningless," says the teacher. Everything is meaningless, and and that's in chapter 12, the last chapter. But then he finishes up the chapter. Says, "Now all has been heard. Here is the conclusion of the matter: fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." And that sums up our purpose pretty well. To know God, to love God, follow His commands, and we can we can find meaning in that. Ecclesiastes is not a fun book to read, but it does point out the realities of life, and he even states that wisdom is meaningless, um, and but he does. The teacher of Ecclesiastes does tell us that wisdom is better than folly, um, and to seek wisdom. But he also tells us that with much wisdom comes much sorrow. So there's a cost um, to becoming wiser, even. And so it's an interesting book to read, and provides insight as to what life is all about. And it is what we look to when we uh, want to know if there's a time for everything. And Ecclesiastes 2 is very clear on that. There's a time for everything under the sun. And in 5:7 of Ecclesiastes, the writer says, "Much dreaming and many words are meaningless. Therefore, stand in awe of God." So he does uh, encourage us to follow God's tenets and commandments, and that we can find some meaning in our lives through God. Uh, Cosgrove tells us in The Meaning of Life, for the Christian, is history is linear, not cyclical. It is moving toward a God ordained conclusion. Your life is a story and fits within a larger story by God. And I have to agree with that. And when we look at the illogic that's involved in any other worldview, we are left with Christianity as the only sound uh, uh, the only sound conclusion we can come to about God and who God is, and how we are to relate to Him and respond to Him. Um, in the other book by Geisler and Bocchino, I really appreciated their inclusion of Viktor Frankl's story. And when he went through his hard times during the Holocaust, and that he ultimately, in his dire straits, the worst of conditions, when he didn't know from one day to the next if he would be alive, um, that he found meaning in life through God. And I think it's quite interesting that often people who go through the hardest of circumstances in life can provide the most insight into where meaning is found and the purposes in life, and that we can still find joy in things and we can still have peace when everything else around us is chaos. No other worldview outside the Christian worldview allows for that. You have to turn off the outside world to find peace with any other worldview. Whereas the Christians can embrace it, and although we struggle with much of the suffering and pain in the world, we can still find meaning. And for that stuff that we can't find meaning to, we leave it in the hands of God. We leave it that He has a better purpose and a better plan than we could ever understand or know. And that gives comfort and peace in this life. And then the last thing I just want to touch on a little bit is this. As Christians, we purport to have the truth about God and about who He is. And there is a ton of apologetics out there that teaches us that we're indeed correct. But one thing that's a little bit disconcerting is the fact that we don't often teach the truth. Think for a minute, if your 6-year-old, 7-year-old in school says 2 plus 2 is 5, we correct them. If anybody comes up or provides something that they know to be fact or they think is fact and we know otherwise, we always teach them the truth, or we try to. We don't often let them go off in ignorance. So why is it that when it comes to Christianity that we don't often speak the truth when we should? And because if we have it, then we need to share it. And there's been analogies about the man standing on the train tracks and the trains coming and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we still need to have enough courage and faith in our God that if we stand up for the truth, that's the right thing to do. We have to do it in love, and that gets hard. There's no doubt about it. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there as part of a Christian worldview, that if we think we have the truth, then we need to be willing to share that truth with others who are in error in their thinking. And finding ways to do that in this world is difficult. I know it's very hard, but I think we need to continue to educate ourselves and learn better to speak into other people's lives about all this. I'd also just like to say I really enjoyed this course. And I love apologetics. I love looking at the worldviews, how other people think, how they got to their thinking process. And it's been a joy. It's been great reading a lot that you guys have posted, watching your videos and things like that. It's been a great insight. And thanks, Professor Thorne, for a wonderful 7 weeks. God bless all of you.